All right, same. Wait, what? I'm gonna unmute and do the national anthem.
Are you playing it? I can't hear it.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I can't hear the song. What? Are you playing it?
That's it.
So that whole
All right.
time, you were playing the national anthem.
Yeah, you can hear it.
It did. Your mic did not pick up on it at all.
That's good.
The Matrix attack is already happening. Kamala has stripped the airways of the national anthem.
Oh.
I
Are
could
you
not.
live on your side? Are we good to go?
We're live. I'm ready, baby.
All
Oh.
right. Welcome in, everyone.
I was just gonna say real quick that the people on my stream, they're watching me. I'm smiling and shit. I'm seeing you with your phone up to the mic, and I like, what's going on?
Well, that's good. That's good to know my mic's got good, I guess, background noise cancellation.
Fantastic! It's that thing picked up the difference between your
Nothing.
voice and the national anthem. That's
That's
incredible.
crazy, actually.
Astounding. That's actually an incredible endorsement for that microphone. So, whatever you're using,
It
banger.
was literally held right up to it. Like I couldn't put it any closer.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It looked like it was a bit, and I'm sitting here like, is he fucking with me or did Trumpino lose? What happened? Um, but yeah, now if you want to give him a quick intro, Bobby, and then
Yeah.
yeah,
So welcome in, guys. November 6th here, one day after Election Day. Obviously, we're going to do our election results recap. We're going to talk through everything like that, everything related. Crypto went booming last night, went crazy. So we'll touch on that as well, the aftermath of the election results, the markets tapping in. But this is the Gentleman's Code, episode 13. We've been at it now for a couple months now. So if you guys like the stream, please like, subscribe, so you guys get the notification whenever we go live. Next week, every Wednesday at 8 a.m. we're live doing these. And also, if you guys aren't part of the community, we have a school network, the Taylor's Code, that we have built, and we have networking in there. We have opportunities for you guys to make money in all different aspects in crypto, e-commerce, sales, whatever you guys are interested in learning. The community has been growing rapidly just from these live streams alone. I think every time I go into the Taylor's Code after our live stream, there's at least like three or four requests to join the group, which is great. So,
yeah,
Primo, hand it over to you.
yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning, Bobby, and that's huge because you see how growth over time and consistency actually works because the more and more you do something, the more people flock to it. They start to notice you. They start to see the consistency of it. And like Bobby said, now every single live stream that we do, not only is the viewer count growing while we're live, so more people are watching live than ever before, but then, as you said, well, after they see the content, after they see what we're about, they say, "Well, let me get into the school network. Let me see this. What this? What's this network? This university that these guys are talking about?" And then we continue to connect and grow the network. We started with about three or four people in the close network outside of the Taylor's Code where we chat all the time, talk about crypto, talk about making money, etc. Now we got that chat up to what, six, seven people.
Hmm.
Continues to grow because people are seeing it. People are seeing the results. People understand what it is that we're trying to accomplish. And so to relate that to the podcast, this live stream that we do called the Gentleman's Code, yesterday, the gentleman brought it home. That's what I had put it on my story yesterday. I said, Trumpino, the gentleman, we got to bring it home today, boys. And the
Hmm.
gentleman went out, we voted, and we took it home from all the other individuals that were trying to take it away from Trumpino. So it's not, I guess it's not necessarily official yet, but it most certainly is in terms of just where the polls are at, what the electoral
Hmm.
college is at. All the states that were coming through are pretty much red. The ones that haven't called it yet are all red too. So yeah, it was huge. It was a huge victory yesterday for the culture.
Huge.
Huge victory yesterday for gentlemen. Huge victory for men who want to be masculine and actually want to live the life that they know is right and true to themselves without being put down, without being looked as misogynistic, et cetera, et cetera. Like yesterday was huge for the culture. For Trump to come back and win this administration with the Senate, with the House of Representatives.
That's a part people aren't talking about. That's all three branches of government right there.
For those of you who don't understand how the US government's set up, there's three branches, right? And whenever they had set it up this way, they did it in three branches because they want to have checks and balances. They want to make the most fantastic government that the world had ever seen, where no one branch of the government is going to have more power than the other. So when a president gets into office, it's very important that he has the Senate, the House, or even better, both, that also leans towards his party in terms of the majority, so that when the president's actually trying to pass laws and regulations, it can get through the Senate. Things can get approved by the Senate, by the House, etc.
Mhm.
A big issue with presidents is if they get into office and they don't have a favorable House or a favorable Senate, all the shit that they try to put through is just going to get bang, smacked down in the House or the Senate.
You
So they
you could have the best president ever, the most popular, most well-spoken, going to do all the right things, but if he doesn't have the Congress on his side, it doesn't even matter because he's not going to be able to pass what he wants to pass.
Exactly. And that's so important that people don't think about that is you need that to be able to get the legislation through. Trump won the presidency and he won the House and he won the Senate. So all three branches of the government are now leaning Republican. Trump's in the office as the president. All this stuff, all this change that he's been talking about with with Robert Kennedy Jr., with Tulsi Gabbard, with Elon, all these different organizations that they want to put together, all the stripping of the government power that they want to do, or deregulations, all these. He's actually going to be able to do all that shit, which is huge.
Another point too, the um, judicial branch of government is also Republican. They have last time Trump was president in 2016 to 2020, there was the judicial branch where he appointed two or three judges. So now they're all him too.
Leaning that way too. Look who we have joining
Mr.
us.
Bauer. Hey.
Yeah, Bezo. What's going on, Bees?
I'm muted. What the fuck?
Yeah, look,
We
Kamala's
did
attacking.
it. Wow. The AP announce it?
Yeah, they did. Your your boys at the AP finally called the race.
They did officially.
Yeah, the AP fuckers. I had a different website that fit my bias, Bobby. So I was watching that one. They were calling it way earlier for Trumpina. So I'm like, yeah, I like this one.
AP flooded.
Yeah, the AP flooded came out with the Pina victory.
I can't believe they let him do it. Incredible.
Yeah, incredible. I'm still waiting for this, plane flying in with this new batch of illegals to come drop off some ballots in PA or something.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say plane flying into the fucking towers again. I was like, dude, is that what the plan is?
That that too. Let's go. Bhuvnesh is fired up. Look, listen, guys, this is how revolutionary Trump is. Bhuvnesh is in India, geeked up that Trump won. We got we
Hmm.
got Ollie in here. Trump about to make crypto boom. Ollie, it's already happening. So, anyways, the point we were making, Bees, before you just jumped in was how huge it was that just Trump won, obviously, for the culture, for the Americans, for the gentleman. This is the gentleman's code. The gentleman went out and voted yesterday to get Trumpino back into office. But the fact that he got the Senate and the House of Representatives too is fucking. People aren't talking about that enough. That's huge.
Mhm.
He's going to be able to get through anything pretty much that he wants to get through.
Yeah, I guess that the news must not be talking about it enough because I knew yesterday that he had won both of them. And my dad texted me this morning saying, now we just need to get the Senate. And I'm like, dude, it's already over.
Yeah, it's a lock.
We already got that shit.
Yeah, so I think they're just no, they're not talking about it enough yet, or CNN's having a hissy fit because they realize he won, so now it's not, oh, let's dispute the election. They know it was just a landslide, so now it's how do we jam up Trump enough that he can't get any legislation through, and let's pretend that he didn't win the Senate. So I
Exactly.
think that's kind of what's going on. They don't want to admit it.
Yeah, they're sick. You're seeing the liberals cry tears, and I was telling Bobby, I said I feel very good today knowing that tears have been shed.
Oh yeah, I'm not running on coffee today. I'm running on liberal tears.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm only gonna need 4 shots of espresso today. The rest I'm gonna.
Yeah.
Yeah, huge, huge. So, all right. So yeah, so he won the Senate, he won the House. Trumpino is gonna get in. So in terms of crypto, right? We can pivot to that real quick in terms of how that's affecting the markets. So you saw this is literally exactly what we've been talking about for the past week or two. We said this exact scenario is what we talked about, and it played out. We said long term in crypto markets, it historically doesn't really matter what wins the presidency, Democrat or Republican. Long term is still going to be a bull run, but in the short term price action, Trump was obviously way more bullish for crypto than Kamala. Everybody would just kind of accepted that, and that's what we were saying. You see what happens as soon as Trump starts to lead in the polls, excuse me, starts to lead in the election and gets closer and closer to victory. What happens to Bitcoin? Me and Bauer are on fucking Zoom, staring at the electoral college on one side, staring at Bitcoin on the other. As soon as Trump starts going up, Bitcoin starts ripping cheeks and goes to 74K, 75K all time highs, putting in the Trump pump meat stick. So you see it, right? That's what happens when you get a bullish president in office. You're going to see how much more we can start to do with crypto because the what's his name? Gary Gensler is the guy who's super anti crypto, and the Democrats in general have been super anti crypto in terms of regulations and coming after crypto companies with lawsuits. So now that Trump's in office, all these exchanges and all these people who are in the crypto industry are going to be a lot more willing to push forward with new innovation and new, let's say, listings with meme coins and other assets onto these big exchanges because that's an argument as to why something like a Coinbase still hasn't listed a Pepe or a Brett, these big meme coins on their exchange yet because they're afraid of regulation. Because they're afraid if they list it, then the government agencies are going to start to come after them because meme coins aren't looked at as a technology; they're looked at as like gambling. So they're afraid of regulation. So now that Trump's in, everything's way more bullish because he's not going to fuck anybody over in crypto.
Yeah, I mean, they were talking about, Trump was actually talking about, I think on the Rogan podcast, he was saying that a lot of his friends that own businesses that used to have them in the United States or had moved them out of the country, but then during his presidency, once he, cut down on regulations and cut down on taxes a lot, they were bringing their businesses back. And he said, what has made the bigger difference for you, the improvement in regulations or, reduction in regulations or the cut in taxes? And they're like, oh, the regulations for sure. So, yeah, it's a huge thing. And I mean, I know that obviously we've kind of assumed that the Democratic Party is definitely the party that has kind of is getting manipulated by, a
Big
lot
money.
of money hungry people. And so you think about companies like Goldman Sachs and a lot of these massive, massive investment companies that definitely have, a say in the Democratic Party with those companies, I mean, whenever there's billions and billions and billions of dollars of institutional money flowing into crypto, that's money that's not going through Goldman Sachs and all these other huge investment firms. So you know that they got to be telling the Democratic Party, hey guys, we got to slow this down a little bit. We got to bring it back to traditional fiat currency.
Right.
So yeah, definitely huge.
Yeah, I was actually on with my dad last night watching, and he's like, this is just the beginning. He's like, this is just election. I imagine 4 years of crypto friendly policies, getting it out of the institutional money, like you said, and just more people getting in investing over the next 4 years. And Trump's one of the lines he likes to use for crypto is maybe we'll pay off a little debt with Bitcoin. And that's like his line. That's so hopefully in the future, if that's his goal, he better pump it because we got 35 trillion in debt to pay off. So maybe if Bitcoin gets even nearly up there, it'll be a way for it to pay off some debt. We'll see what happens.
Think about Trumpino injecting some government liquidity into Bitcoin. If they start buying up Bitcoin, the government, oh my goodness. You think
Oh yeah.
you
We get
guys
the we get the boomers and the government giving us liquidity.
Bro, think about that Trump pump. Trump says, "All right, open up the government spending. We're we're buying $10 billion worth of Bitcoin. Everything that's what I'm saying. People are saying now the super cycle is going to happen, etc. With crypto, everything's so much more bullish, and they think it's going to be a longer term cycle now because of 4 years of Trumpino. He's going to be pumping the bags big time. Listen, his son Barron got 5 or 6 wallets. He said so. He's going to pump it for Barron. Yeah, it's just going to be super bullish for crypto. So we know that. So crypto, we know what's going to go on with that. But I think yesterday was also really interesting to see how much the culture has shifted back towards sanity and common sense and traditional values, because with the last election, you saw how close it was with Trump and Biden. Everything was coming down to the very last minute. Everything was like 0.5% victory in some states, just super, super, super close race. But this election, you could tell the energy was completely different. You could feel the momentum for Trump. You could feel everybody coming out for Trump. You could feel people who've never voted before decide to vote this cycle. That was me. I didn't vote in 2016 because I didn't care. I was at that time in college. In 2020, still didn't vote. Still didn't really care. Didn't really. I just didn't. I didn't feel compelled to vote, nor did I care for either person. But this election cycle, I completely different attitude towards it. I knew I had to vote because if I didn't vote for Trump, then I knew myself as an individual and the way that I think and the way that I perceive myself and the way that I carry myself was going to continue to be frowned upon under an administration with Harris. So for the culture, just for being, like I said, this is the gentleman's code. Just for the culture that we have and being an old school gentleman, we had to go out and vote for Trump so we could have that peace of mind that, oh wait, people do still think like this, people still aren't, so there are a lot of people that aren't fucking insane, right? And you saw that with how everybody pretty much voted Republican this cycle.
You voted because you got bread now, let's be honest.
That's true. That is
You don't
true.
want the government pocket watching you.
Yeah, let's be real.
I wasn't even thinking that, but that is 100% what it is. That is definitely what it is. Because 2020, I was broke. This time, definitely not. So I was like,
You got
okay.
some stake in the game now.
Yeah.
You got some chips on the table.
I got 70% of my net worth in crypto, so I kind of needed a Trumpino win.
I think
Well,
something
that's a good point.
Oh, go ahead, Bobby.
Go ahead, Logan. I was gonna say that's a good point. Think about who the Democrats' main demographic is. It's inner city communities, majority of which probably live in Section 8 housing, get a government check every month for unemployment or something, Social Security or something like that. People that rely on the government for money every single month is majority of the Democrats' voting base, to be honest. And the people that aren't are probably either migrants or illegal immigrants that are coming into the country now that are throwing their support on that side because they let them come into the country. So for the working class of Americans, you could see it's a total red wave. Everyday Americans who go out, plumbers, construction workers, truck drivers, police, firemen, everybody like that who just wants to make their normal salary and not have to give half of it to the government is on board with Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is interesting because Kamala was trying so hard to be the candidate to appeal to the middle class, acting like she grew up in the middle class. Like every question she got asked, that was the first thing she routed to was, "Oh, I grew up in a middle class working family," like just trying to be relatable. But everyone's like, "Dude, I can't afford anything right now. Like, get out."
Right.
Yeah, it's insane. I remember Trump a while ago. I don't know if it was him or someone that was talking about his policies, but they were saying that if you want to keep people in the same position, then you would just continue to pinch them off crumbs it's not going to be enough for them to be able to elevate and change their situation, but it's going to be enough that they're comfortable enough to stay alive and stay where they're at. So he was talking about a lot of these government funded programs with welfare and Section 8 housing and the way that a lot of these programs are run. And people were kind of discriminating him before for wanting to move funding away from that and put it into like reinvesting in these neighborhoods and gentrifying these neighborhoods and trying to open up businesses that'll actually help these people change their situation and get out of the cycle. And he's like, yeah, if you guys just, if I wanted to keep you poor forever so that you can never compete with me and I can pay you $8 an hour for a minimum wage job or just keep you even out of the system completely, then I would just keep these programs going. And
Mm-hmm.
I would want you guys living off the system being no threat to me for the rest of your life.
Right.
He's like, I'm trying to open up businesses. I'm trying to give you guys an actual change to elevate and get out of the situation you've been stuck in for 20 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
So,
Is
exactly.
that is
Go
that
ahead.
the opportunity zones? The opportunity zones, I think, is what they call them.
mm-hmm. Yep.
So, and that's what I was going to say with the government. That's exactly what they want to do. Is the route of the Democrats and the government programs is it stopped being a thing of, oh, let's help people who have an impoverished situation, and it became a, well, let's just buy their vote and then just keep them perpetually poor so that they continue to vote for us, so they can continue to get the programs that the government gives them so that they can live the lives that they live. Trump, he's looking at it as the way you should look at it, right? In the Bible, they talk about, or not, excuse me, in the Bible they have the story about the fish, but the saying is, you teach a man, or you give a man a fish, he eats for a day. If you teach a man how to fish, he eats for a lifetime, right? The whole
Yep.
point being is, are you trying to solve the problem, or are you just trying to satisfy somebody for the day? So you can't just continue to give handouts, 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 and keep people perpetually impoverished and just dependent upon the government and expect them to all of a sudden become successful. It's like, no, you're allowing them to live the way that they live and enabling them to live that way, so they're just going to continue to live that way. Why wouldn't they? So it's about solving the problem. Like, do you actually want these people to get better, or do you just want to continue to have their votes and keep them in the same situation so you can continue to farm that? It's the same exact thing with the illegal immigrants. Democrats, boom, fly them in, EBT card, food stamps, give them a nice hotel, boom, 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 treating them like fucking heroes, treating them like first class citizens, and they're not even citizens in our own country. And then you say to yourself, well, why would they do that? Why are they giving out all these handouts? Oh, well, it's because they're going to get the vote. They're going to then fast track them to citizenship, put them in all the swing states. Boom, boom, boom. They bought their votes. Great. That's exactly what they're doing. That's not making your country better. That's just putting people in situations where you're just bribing them for a vote because you want to stay in power. So, and that doesn't benefit a single American that's an actual citizen. And that's what you saw this election. The only people that it benefits to bring in illegal immigrants are super rich people who want cheap labor, or politicians who want to keep power. So the majority of people in the United States, of course, it's not what they want. 84% of people, when they did polling on should there be voter IDs at elections, 84% of Americans said yes. So then why, if this is a democracy, though, how in the fuck is California passing laws where it's illegal to see voter ID? So again, it's not because this is what the people want. It's not because it's going to benefit the people. It's just it's going to benefit the small minority. So that's what they're going to try and do.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not, Tim Dillon was talking about it last night. He's like, it's hardly even benefiting the illegal immigrants that are coming into the country too. Cause it's like, they're getting treated so much worse than a normal. Well, I mean, they're getting obviously better treatment than they should be for being an illegal in the country, not even supposed to be here in the first place, coming across, yeah, like literally are criminals just hiding out in the country. So they're getting better treatment than what they should, but compared to, an immigrant that comes in the traditional way and actually has citizenship and is going to get paid a normal livable wage and be able to have health care and all these different benefits that they're supposed to have. So really it's not even benefiting these people. And like, yeah, I think I talked to you about it before. They were saying a lot of the Latinos that they had spoken with that actually came into the country the right way were one of the most pissed groups of people about the border being open. And they're like, yeah, they're taking our jobs, they're destroying our wages, they're giving us an unfair competition because they're getting paid under the table, pennies on the dollar, and it's just, it's wrecking our communities. They were like the most pissed people ever. It's like, if we should be listening to anyone's take on it, it should be the the community of, immigrants that came in the right way.
Yeah, I mean, Paramo, you know that firsthand. Your parents are both immigrants. I'm sure you have their opinion on it. So I agree. I know plenty of people that come from immigrant families, and their parents had to work decades to get their family here. My girlfriend's family came from Iran, and it took her father years to get his family here, as opposed to just walking across the border and doing it and then getting checks every month to live in a New York City hotel. So it's a lot different for people, and I think people understand that. But in terms of California and with the no voter ID laws, I just think it's a little ridiculous how they could call the race at 11 p.m. when the polls close for Kamala Harris when I think California is the most populous state, and so they have the most votes to count, which how do you even track if the votes are correct if you don't have voter ID? You're so close to Mexico. People could just literally come across the border, vote, go back that day. So they need some total reform over there because California has so much potential, but the way it's just run right now is just a travesty that I'm not going to say it's not fair because, Trump won the election, but who knows what California could be one day if you don't track the votes accordingly or just track government spending, things like that. They need to just get it under control over there.
Hmm. That's,
Is Gavin Newsom still the government or the governor over there?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think so.
That
Yeah,
dude's a fucking idiot.
new scum.
Yeah,
Trumpino calls him new scum.
he's an idiot.
He, yeah, that's a tragedy with California is that it was the greatest place on earth back in the 80s, 90s. Everybody talked about California. I mean, weather wise, climate wise, it's just unbelievable, right? The times I've been there, I get it. It's fucking beautiful and it's amazing, and I get why people love it so much. But then what they did to the state government and the way that they run it is just embarrassing. So how could you ruin such a fantastic state just for the woke mind virus? It's just people going insane. It just, yeah, there's so many things you could talk about with California, but the big thing to take away from the election is just the fact that the people got it back, the people got the country back, the people showed that very clearly. Everybody is on the side, not everybody, but so many people are on the side of common sense, go back to traditional values. It's insane to have people, it's insane to have children have gender reassignment surgery, to have hormones whenever they're children, to just be, all the insanity that's been happening for the past 8 years, people are pushing back on it finally. Because people with actual voices are starting to stand up and voice themselves and let people know, no, wait, this is actually insane. I don't care if I'm going to get pushback. I don't care if I get thrown in jail or lawsuits, etc. Somebody like Tate is a great example who came out and just said, fuck it, I'm going to say what I want to say. And people were saying, oh, thank you. Somebody actually thinks what we think. Now we feel empowered to go ahead and get behind this person and say, yeah, we agree with them. Elon, Joe Rogan, Robert Kennedy Jr., all these people coming out and coming up for Trump is huge because they're just saying it's enough is enough. We got to get back to being fucking normal people and then get back to making this country great again. Because whenever America's great, the economy's great, the world's better, everybody's more successful, everybody's happy, everybody's proud. For the last 8 years, or I would say the last 4 years, people weren't proud to be Americans. I'm over here thinking about where I'm going to move next out of this country because it's just what is there to be proud of? What are we doing well? What are we innovating? What are we building? What kind of cities are we making? What kind of infrastructure do we have? What kind of innovation do we have? No, nothing outside of Elon. So it's time to get back, baby.
Yeah, hopefully, and I think that's going to take a turn here with some correct policies in terms of manufacturing, tariffs, getting companies that have left the United States over the past decade or so that have gone to cheaper places like India, Taiwan, China to build their manufacturing. Start putting a strain on them and say, hey, listen, you're an American company, you make all your profits here, you have corporate employees here. Come back to the United States. They're not gonna have the bottom line profit that they want, but in the long run, it's going to benefit them because they'll be able to manufacture their products here where majority of their consumers are. And you've seen one of the companies that's actually fascinating that did this was Toyota. Toyota was generally always an Asian company. They would always build everything here. But when they first brought their trucks back, I'm pretty sure Toyota is like one of the cheapest cars you could buy now besides a Tesla. So in the short term, they probably lost a little money from a bottom line profit perspective. But now I think Toyota is one of the best selling cars, still gasoline. I think they're hybrid models, so they're not like fully gasoline anymore. But they're one of the best-selling cars in the world, and they manufacture now, and I think their profits hit an all-time high last quarter. I saw their earnings. So in the long run, it's better for companies to go where their consumers are.
Hmm. And yeah, go ahead, bees.
Oh, I was just gonna ask you guys. You can make your point because it's a different topic.
Cool. So the one thing I'll mention on that is, so Trump being a businessman and why the economy did well last time is because he's a deal maker. He's a guy who's trying to make shit happen. He's trying to make deals. He's trying to make money. That's a great thing to have. But this second term, I think, is going to be so much better now that he learned all the lessons he learned from the first term, where he had bad cabinet, bad choices in terms of the people around him advising him, etc. Because he was oblivious. The dude wasn't a politician. All of a sudden, he wins the presidency. Now it's like, oh, what the fuck do I do? I got to pick this person, pick this. There's over 10,000 positions that he has to pick whenever he gets the presidency. So now that he knows what's going on, not only is he going to have the economics down, the business side of things down, but now he's going to have the infrastructure to actually facilitate all the change that he's been talking about for the past year. It's going to be sick because people like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has been in politics his whole life. He's going to know what to do. Tulsi Gabbard, she's going to know what to do. Elon Musk, one of the smartest men in the entire fucking world, wants to be the head of the DOGE, the Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency, right? There's going to be, we'll see, but I see it as there's actually going to be real change and progress this administration because everything is in his favor. All the branches of the government, the people around him, he has the experience, he understands what he's doing now. I mean, call me a fucking, maybe I'm a little bit excited just based off what happened yesterday, but I do see a big potential for change this next 4 years. I think it's gonna be fucking sick. So,
I
but yeah,
agree. Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, getting the Senate was huge, and I think I was looking at it the other day. The Supreme Court justices, I think he appointed three whenever he was in office, and I think Biden got what, one.
I'm
And
not sure.
I think that the oldest judge in the court right now is 74 or 76. So, I mean, hopefully if we can
You
get
get
another
another. Hmm.
if we can get another this term, that'd be beautiful.
Boom.
Beautiful. But yeah, I wanted to ask you guys what you thought about Barron Trump for the election, just the influence that he had, because every single podcast that Trump and JD Vance were going on, every single comment was just saying Barron's crushing this election, like Barron's on the sticks. Everyone was geeking about it. So, how much of a difference do you think that made for people just being able to have that kind of, because we were talking about it the other day, Pri, at the cigar bar. We were saying that before, whenever people would see celebrities out in public, it was like a huge deal because you would only see him on the newspaper, you'd see him on like big broadcasting networks, and you would never have any kind of a personal connection to them. It was just them performing or like them giving a quick speech. Now, with this like long format content that's coming out that all these big celebrities and big politicians and everything are doing, it's like now you get to kind of get a feel for who they are. Like, Trump on Theo Vaughn's podcast talking about his brother dealing with alcohol addiction, Theo saying crazy shit to him and Trump laughing. And
His cocaine addiction.
Right.
yes, he said that shit will turn you into your own street lamp or whatever. um, but yeah, I just was curious what you guys thought about Barron and how he might have impacted the results.
What do you think, Bobby?
So I think in terms of like we could just go off the biggest one that I think may have swung people in the last couple of days was the Joe Rogan. You saw Kamala gave Joe pretty much an ultimatum: come to me. It's only going to be 45 minutes. And it
Acting
didn't end
like
up happening.
acting
Yeah.
like she's the fucking big dog. Get the fuck out of here.
So you saw Trump go on, got 50 million views on YouTube, even though YouTube was doing some stuff to the algorithm, not even showing it when you when you searched it. But just the ability to put it on other platforms like X and TikTok clips and all that, it got around regardless. So I think podcasts like that, and like you said, Theo Vaughn, he was on one of the first ones that I thought was actually going to change. some voters was, I don't know if you guys know who Aiden Ross is. He's a streamer.
Mhm.
Trump was on his stream back in, I would say maybe August or July, sometime in the summer. And I was watching it live. It was like 500,000 people watching it live, Trump in Aiden Ross stream. And I was like, well, Aiden Ross has a pretty young crowd, a lot of young, probably teenagers or kids voting for the first time and getting to see Trump sit down and talk to a kid like Aiden Ross, who's just like normally a goofball. That was eye-opening. And that's when it kind of changed for me that, maybe Barron was behind the sticks, like you said.
No, I think Barron's killing it. He's killing it. He is. I believe he is the reason that Trump won because there's two big things that those podcasts and those live streams did for Trump. So the first one and the obvious one is that it made him more human and people actually got to know who he was. So that makes if people think you're a human, they can connect with you on a personal level. Makes it much easier for them to rationalize voting for you. With Kamala, she at no point ever humanized herself. Everything was fake. Everything was scripted. Everything was ha 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 ha. I mean,
She's not a human.
yeah, she's just not even a
Yeah.
fucking real person. She's just a robot, just a figure that they just put out there, a vessel for them to use to be able to try to win an election. And it's not, people aren't stupid. They look at that and they see her as a vessel. Nobody knows who she is. Nobody knows if she actually worked at McDonald's or not. She didn't. I mean, the perfect amalgamation of everything that she is happened last night on election night. The video that went viral of her, oh, hello, you just voted? Oh my God, thank you so much. Ha ha ha. It's her fucking camera is open on her cell phone. She's not talking to anybody. I mean, just the fakest shit ever. And then so just everything about her super fake. The reason that people love Trump so much, regardless of what his personality is or what his personal views are or his vulgarity behind closed doors, etc. People are like, "Oh my God, he's not a real politician. He doesn't act professionally, etc." Well, yeah, but at least he's a real person, and that's what people like. It's like, at least I know who you are. At least you're not trying to lie to me. At least you're not trying to be fake. I'd appreciate that more than you lying to me and trying to put on a front that you're somebody that you're not, that you aren't. So that's why Trump does well. That's why he did well this election, is because people got to see who he really was as a person. I mean, people kind of already knew, but especially on a long format, you realize, oh, okay, he's more than just these viral clips of him saying something a little bit crazy. It's like, oh no, this is like your grandpa. This is like it's just he's a guy. He's a good guy. He's a businessman. He's a hustler. He's an old school gentleman. People like that machismo. So that was the first thing. And then the second thing that plays into my second point is the reason that the younger generation is loving Trump so much and why everybody's starting to swing, these next generation of voters are starting to swing towards the Republican side, is men want to be masculine again. Men want to look up to somebody like Trump, Tate, these masculine figures and say, oh, these guys are fucking heroes. I want to be like them. I don't want to be some kind of fucking pussy gay guy who gets cucked and his wife wants to, have an open relationship with him and have three other boyfriends, even though you're the one like, that's the shit that they're trying to push nowadays is be gay, be fucking weak, be feminine. It's okay. My girlfriend has three guy best friends and, goes on dates with other men every once in a while just because I want to be able to have stupid shit that these guys are doing nowadays. So the point is that this new generation coming up is looking at that and saying, why the fuck would I want that? I would rather have a traditional household, have a bunch of children, have a woman that loves me, respects me, listens to me if I make a decision. I want to be able to be fit, be healthy, have testosterone, right? Still have my fucking balls. Like this is what they're saying. They're like, yeah, I like that. I like that a lot better than the fucking other option, which is being feminine, being gay. So that's the other reason I think people are switching or going for Trump.
No more plastic balls.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I don't. The what's it called? The microplastics that are being found in people's balls now is outrageous.
Plastic ball sack.
So another point, kind of the general question of the live streams and the podcast is it's a new age of media. If you like, I was watching just because I like to hear both sides of like what's going on. If you listen to some of the stuff they were saying last night on like MSNBC, ABC, NBC, they were still spewing out the rhetoric of Trump's going to be a dictator. I can't believe people are voting for a fascist. Da 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 da. It's like you really think that the 85 plus million people voting believe your bullshit that you're spitting. It's a new age of media. People would rather listen to people talk and have a conversation just like we are right now, and we could actually be authentic and talk to each other, as opposed to just turning on ABC News and just hearing some blah blah propaganda coming from higher execs in a media company. And I truly believe after last night, these big media companies are going to be dead. Nobody's going to watch them anymore.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I think that something that was really interesting that they were talking about, because I don't know if you saw Joe Rogan put out a new pod last night with Tim Dillon right before the election. Um, so Priyama and I were listening to it a little bit yesterday, and Priyama, before the podcast, we were talking about last election, if it was rigged and just kind of talking about it. And then on the podcast, they were actually saying, regardless of if the votes were rigged or if the system had a malfunction or whatever, he said you can't possibly say that the election wasn't messed with because they were fucking with all of the search results whenever people were searching things about Trump. They were saying that was when the whole laptop, the Hunter
Hunter
Biden
Biden, yeah.
laptop thing came out, and they were saying it was Russian disinformation, a Russian hoax, and they were deleting all the information off Instagram and off all these other platforms talking about the Russian laptop. And you look at some of the states, like I think Trump, they said he lost Pennsylvania last year by it's like 100, like less than 100,000 votes. I think it was
Mhm.
90,000 votes. So it's like you have 90,000 people that see that Hunter Biden laptop story for what it really is. That's going to swing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people to the other direction. So it was just great to see Elon having Twitter under control this
Yes.
election, just giving people a platform to post whatever. Like I know Rogan said, I think on Twitter or on X, just with the podcast with Trump, it had over 50 million views just on Twitter or on X, along with over 50 million on YouTube. And it's just, yeah, it's just great to see this election. Even though I know there was still a little bit of temperament, like they were saying yesterday, if you search for where can I vote for Trump, then it wouldn't pop up the map that would show the polling stations. But if you search where can I vote for Harris, and then Google put out an article saying a fix is coming, it's like, okay, what? So still a little bullshit like that. But for the most part, it's just great to see people can actually get the information that they should have and
Yeah.
read what they want to read.
That's
Pri,
facts.
you wanna pull up the map? I had a couple points just on the
Yes.
map. Just some things that I was watching last night that I think moving forward is gonna change some things for the, elections just in general. So the first one, just because I was watching and this kind of it because it literally did hit closer to home. But so if you think about it, Barack Obama, when he ran in 2008 and 2012, he won Florida by a healthy margin.
He
So if
did.
you he did.
Interesting.
Trump ended up winning it back, and then I think he actually slightly won it against Biden. But if you click on Florida here and you look at the totals here, Trump absolutely won Florida in a landslide. And three of the main points. So one of the largest voting counties in the whole country is Miami-Dade County, and this has historically been a Hispanic community that has voted blue for a long time. And look at the major metropolitan areas in Florida. Jacksonville, Tampa, where I'm at, historically blue, Pinellas County, all the beach towns.
Damn.
These are all boomer towns that Democrats from the north moved to go to the beach. Now these are red. These are red counties now. Miami-Dade County, one of the largest voting counties outside of Los Angeles and New York City, is red now. So
That's
that
nuts.
trend moving forward is pretty much locking Florida. Florida used to be a swing state. When Florida was won by Obama, they were classified as a swing state. So that's the first one is I don't think Florida is any longer going to be a swing state just based on the policies and the way it's been governed over the past 8 years or so. People, especially since COVID, people are really liking the way it's governed. So I don't see a major change here. So I thought that was interesting to check out. Just Miami, Tampa, Jacksonville, there alone is 8 million people.
That's a great thing to point out because cities, I mean, you look at any state, the major cities are literally almost always blue because that's just how cities vote. So you look at that map and you see the Jacksonville, the Tampa, Miami all red. That's huge. That's
Yep.
people. I mean, I didn't even notice that myself. The significance of that is fucking insane. Because I mean, you look at a PA. This is how almost every state looks. You see Pittsburgh, all the major cities, it's always blue, 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 and then the rural areas are always red, right?
Yep.
So for Florida to actually get the major cities to vote red, that's
Yep.
huge. That's
It's
fucking
huge.
sick.
DeSantis.
Yeah. Damn.
DeSantis is
Also,
big dog.
another one too, if you click on Texas, so kind of similar to the Florida, it's not exactly so the Dallas Fort Worth area.
Mm-hmm.
Dallas Fort Worth, if you see those kind of the slightly red boxes around Dallas, those were historically the Dallas suburbs were blue as well.
Right.
But they were able to flip those counties, which that's the biggest city in Texas, as opposed to like the downtown metro area. Now, all the surrounding areas, Fort Worth, Arlington, Texas, Frisco, Texas, all these suburbs that they were saying Trump can't win this, the suburban women vote. He flipped. Look at even Houston, some of them, the outskirts are, flipped red. So that's just like that's where he won most of these, states by a huge margin was winning these big city suburbs.
Right. So what do we think about women voting, gentlemen?
They did good this time.
I meant it a little bit differently than that, but okay, yeah, good. Nice work, women. Nice job. Okay, so let's see. So we still don't have the AP still didn't call Arizona or Nevada. I saw Nevada already come back for
Or
Trumpino.
You
Michigan.
wanna touch on Arizona? I know you guys lived out there. What was your experience living out there and what you're seeing on the map?
That's what me and Logan were literally talking about that last night. So it looks like Arizona, based off of that, should come back Trumpino. I mean, it's only 61% reported. Logan made a point, right? I mean, obviously Phoenix is a massive fucking city, so Phoenix is going to vote blue, and that's going to be a big, it's going to dictate whether or not Arizona goes blue as well. The feeling, the sense that I got out in Arizona was that it's a red state. It just, for me, it feels like a red state. The energy felt that way. There's a lot of older people that live in Arizona too that would probably vote that way, and yeah, it was just a state that was the energy that I got. So I assumed that Arizona would go red, but like Logan made the point that obviously they have massive city there too, which is going to go blue. So, but that was the vibe I got. I thought Arizona would go red. It just feels like a red state. The energy, the people there. That's why I just assumed it would go red.
Yeah, I mean, I think like you can carry a gun out there without a concealed carry permit. Like you can just carry a pistol. So
Mm-hmm.
they have a lot of pretty loose laws that tend to lean red. But yeah, I mean with Phoenix, it's the fifth largest city in the country. I think their population's like just under 2 million people, like 1.7, 1.8 million. Um,
Phoenix is red there.
Phoenix is red
yeah, that's nuts, dude. Especially too, because I mean it's a lot of immigrants and a lot of people coming up from the
over the
border.
border. Yeah,
So it looks like Tucson. Tucson is right on the border there,
right.
and they're
But
more blue. And that's where the universities are, right? So kind of more younger people.
But I mean, you got to think, dude, it's like these people, it's a lot of people in landlocked states that are 2,000 miles away love to bitch about the border. But whenever you're just completely disconnected from the problem. Like they have no idea how bad it actually is, myself included. I've never been in a border town,
Mm-hmm.
but with these people, like, even in Phoenix, like I remember talking to an Uber driver out there who he used to Uber around a lot of the police officers. He was telling me that the police that worked in West Phoenix, which is the most violent area in Phoenix, he said that a lot of the police officers had to stop getting involved in the crime because a lot of the gangs that had been there for a lot of years were getting into wars with the cartel that were coming up from Mexico, and they were killing each other. And what was happening was the police would get involved. They would, either shoot someone that was in the cartel or they would arrest one of the members. And then the cartel would figure out that cop's badge number and they were sending the cartel to the cop's house and killing their whole family. And it was happening
Jesus.
like time and time and time again. Like it wasn't just a one time thing. So the police just completely stopped getting involved. And he said that the police literally told him that they tell the gang members to just throw the cartel in the river if they kill them. Like don't tell them. He said, just don't even tell us. Just throw them in the river. So it's like when your city's getting that out of control and the border is that big of a problem, I mean, that's good to see. I mean, they're
They're,
waking up.
yeah, exactly. Those people are going to wake up, and that's why this is a non-issue that people talk a lot about, or even mentioned it in the presidential race. Probably because they don't want to scare people too much. But the cartel's influence in the United States is not only very large right now, but it's continuing to grow. Right? It's not. Don't think that the cartel isn't in the U.S. They absolutely are. They basically took over what the mafia had done in previous years and generations, and then the mafia got dismantled, put in jail, broke that down. So whenever there's a vacuum suck for power, somebody's going to come in and fill that in, and that's the cartel. Because you guys got to understand, cartel, the money that they make is not. It's not a. These guys are a couple millionaires, right? No, these are literally some of the richest people in the world just with illegal money, so you don't see them on fucking Forbes, but these are some of the richest people in the world, right? So if you don't
That's
think, yeah, it's an absolute absurd level of wealth. And I saw a lot of this also whenever I was in Mexico recently in terms of what that looks like. But it is a very real thing. And to think that the cartel, number one, isn't in the US, and number two, they aren't influencing politicians, government officials, judges. If you think that that money isn't getting into somebody's pocket in the US, you're sadly mistaken. And
Mm.
so we got to be super careful about the way that we just let people across the border, because that's allowing these organizations to continue to flood the gates into the United States. And then what's going to happen? Eventually, they're going to continue to take control to the point where you don't think it's possible in the United States, but there are states in Mexico that are literally called narco states. Why? The narcos, they control that state. It's as if, let's say, in the United States, we have 50 states, and Idaho, Idaho's a run by the mafia. The mafia has Idaho. What does that mean? Like the mafia runs that state, controls that state. They do whatever they want to do there. The government can't even come into that state, because if the government does, they'll kill the government. They'll kill the military, because they also have tanks and they also have military grade weapons, etc. That's literally what happened. That's in Mexico right now. There are multiple states in the country that are just narco states. The government, the Mexican government, cannot do what they want to do in those states. So imagine that starting to happen in the United States, where you see these Venezuelan gangs and these other criminal organizations coming into our states and taking over apartment complexes. This is happening, right?
Was that in Portland before during the whole BLM thing that they like took over five? Was it in Portland that happened? Or
That
was it
sounds that sounds right. Where they took over a couple of blocks.
It took over, yeah, 5 blocks. It just is a complete lawless territory for like days. And they were just holding it down. And they're just got guns and yeah, they're just holding down 5 blocks, just doing whatever the fuck they wanted. The
Right.
police couldn't do anything. I'm like, this is nuts.
Yeah, that's a big deal. You don't want fucking gangs coming in and taking over apartment complexes. This is not. Evil and crime exists in the world. You can't allow these things to infiltrate your country and just allow people to be able to operate however they want to, right? These are dangerous people. These are people who are looking for power and influence. And so if you continue to let them in through the border, you're just going to continue to lose your own country to these people, these foreign entities, these foreign bodies. So, but yeah, that's something else to keep in the back of your mind. That shit is real. So,
Study crime.
yeah, study crime. Financial market crime, we like that. Not fucking cartels though.
Whoa.
Yeah. So,
And another point I had, and I just, it's kind of crazy that I just heard about this the day before the election. I was watching a Tucker Carlson interview with, I forget the guy's name, but he was a California Republican. And so you know how we talk about how in some places in San Francisco you could rob a CVS, but as long as it's not greater than $950 in goods, like they don't, it's a slap on the wrist. They don't do anything, right?
mhm.
And the same with like the open air drugs, like you could just use drugs on the streets, but there's like no rules when it comes to it, right? So that bill that passed was called the Safe Neighborhoods and Schools Act. Pretty, stupid name. But you know who passed that law?
Mm-mm.
Kamala Harris.
Of course.
And I literally searched it and found the document. and her name is all over it. To Attorney General, blah blah blah, from Kamala Harris, and it lays out. You could read it. I'll send it to you guys. It's literally the whole. It's her saying how people need to be there needs to be less people in jail because the jail's overrun and it's bad for the culture. People getting arrested. So she put these laws out there so less people would get arrested for robbery and drug use. And I just found that fascinating that nobody wanted to talk about that for a
Mm-hmm.
year while she was running. Like that's one of the worst bills ever signed into law that I
Mm-hmm.
could think of. And they just brushed it under the rug like it was nothing. And you see it. I mean, you can see videos of downtown San Francisco all the time. There's like poop everywhere and there's drugs use and people stealing from stores. So I
Guys,
just thought that was crazy.
Dude, there's an app for it in San Francisco. There's literally an app that shows you where the poop is so you can avoid it. It's insane. But yeah, I mean, that's like crazy. She said bad for the culture that we're arresting people for doing crime. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, imagine.
yeah. Imagine we enforced the law. Oh shit.
Whoa.
Yeah. No, I know what you're talking about, Bobby, and that was the thing with California and how it's a failed fucking state is because they're going bankrupt with how many people are leaving their state because it's fucking awful, and so their prisons were overcrowded, and they were breaking a federal regulation in terms of you can't have 125% of the capacity in a prison or it's overpopulated, etc. So yes, so what Kamala Harris and California had to do is they said, well, we're not going to build more prisons because we don't have the money for it. We don't have the institutional ability to be able to accommodate all these criminals. So we're going to have to pass legislation that's going to just get people out of jail. And so one of the stipulations to be able to get these people out of jail was, non-violent crime
Hmm.
offenders.
That's the term they used.
Yes. And of the violent offenses you could have been incarcerated for, there was only about 16, if I'm correct, if I remember correctly. 16. But out of that 16, what ones weren't on the list, what ones didn't make it on the list? Some forms of rape, some forms of violent crime that just didn't meet the criteria for their violent crime, etc. And they were only going based off of your previous offense, your most recent conviction. So if your most recent conviction was, possession of marijuana, then you were considered a non-violent offender, even though you spent 10 years in jail for stabbing your girlfriend. But because it wasn't your most recent charge, you could get out on that. So they were
It's delusion.
releasing delusion, and you can go look at it. It's real. You could just go look at it, right? Go look at the legislation, like Bobby just said. You can just read it and see what it says.
Yep.
And so
And
that's
she wrote that. She wrote that.
yeah. Well, she didn't. Her brain didn't write it. She had her fucking. She had her donors and her
Yeah,
people.
you're right.
Yeah.
You should
Those.
ask El Salvador about how to fill up a prison.
Yeah. Yeah. You wanna save society? Go talk to Bukele, wherever the hell his name is.
Yeah, Bukele.
He's a hero. El Salvador's president. He's a hero. So that's compassion. That's how you take care of your society. You don't have empathy for the criminals. That's shallow. That's stupid. Oh, I have empathy for the criminals. Let's let them out of jail. No. You don't have empathy for the criminals. You have empathy for the people that are being fucking ravaged by the criminals. You have empathy for the store owners that are getting robbed every single day. You have empathy for the people that are getting stabbed on the streets and then you call the cops and nobody shows up to help. Those are the people you have empathy for. And that's what Bukele's shown you in his country, El Salvador, why people are so safe there now, why they love him so much. Because he said, this is fucking stupid. Why would I have empathy for the gangs, for the drug lords, for the people murdering everybody in the streets and making us the murder capital of the Western Hemisphere? He said, no, I'm going to have empathy for the fucking grandma who wants to be able to walk down the street without getting her purse stolen. So, and now you see how safe that country is. It's like, that's empathy. What is this world we live in where we want to release rapists?
What do you think as far as deportation goes? Because I know that obviously whenever the El Salvador was doing a lot of the arrests at that huge scale, obviously with the size of their country, I mean, that per capita, the crime there was insane. I think like the highest in the country. So I know they had a lot of people to arrest. They had a lot that they were dealing with. But when you look at the entire United States, I mean, obviously a lot of the problems are kind of centralized to the cities, which would make it a little bit easier in specific areas. But how do you guys think deportation, like, do you think he's actually going to be able to do mass deportation? Because I know he talks about it, but I know in El Salvador they said whenever they started doing it, obviously a lot of the gangs and a lot of the cartel members, like, they're waking up to it. They know it's happening, and they just started committing crimes just for no reason because they're like, okay, well, we're gonna get arrested. Let's just start wilding out. Let's just start destroying everything, shooting random people. So, how do you guys
Yeah.
think it's gonna go?
I think that's is how it's going to go. It's going to be the criminals are going to go first. You know, the ones that have been here since the border's been open since 2021 or wherever, they probably have a history on them. They know where they're at. Those guys are going to go first. If you commit a crime and you don't have papers, you probably will go. As it goes for the ones that are here, like kids and families and mothers that have not committed a crime, that's I don't know to be determined. We'll see what they do with that, but I don't think they're going to continue to house them. So if you're not going to house them, what are you going to do with them? So that's when they'll probably have to go back as well.
Hmm.
It's just I can't imagine. I can't see a world where they leave peacefully. Like if they got here and they've been here for a number of years and they're criminals, and then I think, we just expected like the police just, walk in there and they're like, hey guys, you got to go. And, they got maybe their grandparent upstairs that they also brought in illegally. And they're like telling their grandfather that they got to go back to Mexico. It's like, it's going to be an ugly situation
Hmm.
for a long time. And yeah, I would not want to be the guys busting in those doors telling these people they got to get the fuck out of the country. But yeah, I think it has to happen.
The thing with Trumpino is, but it was actually something that was mentioned in that podcast as well that you were talking about, Bobby, where he did deport people and he will deport people if they're criminals. So they were talking about how in California, whenever Trump under the Trump administration, there was criminals that would get released from jail that were legal immigrants, and Trump would have, I mean, not Trump personally, but obviously he would have his ICE literally be at the jail, pick up the criminal as soon as they got out of prison, and then they would go ahead and deport them to Mexico. And then whenever Kamala and Biden got into office, then they just obviously completely stopped doing that and they just let them stay. But he was deporting people. Now, the
Probably like,
criminals,
can I go back into jail?
yeah, right, yeah. Let me go back into prison. There's good food there. So, so he will do it, and he should do it, especially for criminals. Of course. If it's a criminal, you get them the fuck out of the country. The bigger issue is, I believe, the gangs and the gang violence
Mhm.
that's occurring in the U.S. is the most important thing that needs to get under control. Gangs can't be taking over apartment complexes. The cartel can't be influencing the United States at the level that it is. It's bad. People from Mexico, people from South America that you talk to them about this is this is a much larger issue than people are, keen to or aware of right now. And once they do become aware of it on a large scale, it's going to be much too late because now it's already at the point where now we got to get the military involved, and there's going to be a lot of people dying and a big mess. Um, or even worse, the cartel gets too embedded with the government itself and the people within the government to the point where now it's not even an issue that can be solved because the people in power are just getting money from the cartel. So they're just saying, all right, fuck it, let's just let them do what they got to do. So
I
yeah.
think that was the situation that we had over the past 4 years. Honestly, it's it was bad for a while, and you see. I don't know, what the situation is with the Border Patrol. I don't know if they act as a police force or if they act more as a government agency, but they weren't able to do their jobs correctly over the past 4 years, and that was kind of the majority of the problem was just not allowing the Border Patrol to do anything about it. It was just a free for all down there, and I think it was more of the government, the federal government, in the Border Patrol's ear, telling them, "Hey, like this is what we're doing. You guys got to follow the lead." And just like chain of command in the military, you step out of line, they'll probably get rid of you. So it's a shame, but
Chain of
that's what Trump has
command,
to do. He's got to empower police force, Border Patrol, military to do their jobs.
just like the chain of command, the Secret Service and Butler.
It
Can't
was
be having
awful.
Don't
can't
step out of line.
How the hell they have a girl running the Secret Service? Doesn't make sense. So I say pretty good spot to start calling it. But the last thing I'll mention for everybody, because again, the point of this stream is what it means to be a gentleman, be a real man. I think a lot of men need to look up to what Trump has done this last year for this election, taking a bullet to the head, fighting against criminal lawsuits, civil lawsuits, literally doing everything he possibly could to try to win this election when everybody was against him. Everybody was trying to fuck him up, and he came out a hero. Elon Musk, another man that you should look up to right now. That guy is doing things that he does not have to do simply for the cause of protecting not only the rights of people in America, but for the rights of the people around the world. He bought Twitter, a company, at a $40 billion evaluation, which it was not worth. And he was the only man that could have bought that company and actually changed it into what it is here today. Without Twitter, without Elon buying Twitter, we're fucked. We're fucked. We're stuck watching the legacy media. People are being censored on Instagram. People are being censored on Facebook. People are being censored on Twitter. You don't get the real information. Elon is a hero for that, right? He's going to go down in history as a hero. Guys like Joe Rogan, heroes. Guys like Trump, heroes, right? So as a man, you got to look at these men and say, well, what makes them heroes? Why did they going to go down in history as these massive figures, these bigger than life people? Because they did the shit that nobody else was willing to do, especially whenever it was unpopular for them to do it, but they knew it was the right thing to do. And that's why they're going to go down in history as heroes. That's why you can't be a coward. If you believe a certain thing, you got to believe that. You got to say that. You got to stand by that. COVID 2020, everybody wanted to get the vaccine. Everybody went and got the vaccine. People like me, people like Bobby, people like Logan. It didn't make sense to me, so I didn't do it.
I heard you got it.
No, no way. I would have fucking gotten into a fight with them if they tried to give it to me. That's why one of the reasons I quit my job. But the point is that if you believe in something, stick by it. Because 4 years later, who are the heroes now? Who are the ones who are right? The guys who didn't get the vaccine. So, yeah, go down as a hero. Stand for what you believe in, and don't be a fucking coward and just do what everybody else tells you to do. Cool.
Yeah, that's the quote, stand for something or fall for nothing. And I think a lot of people are awakening to that, stand for what you believe in, or you'll just be brainwashed into something that isn't even true, like legacy media tells you. So do your own research, stand for something. If you actually believe in it, it's the right cause. And then you could reap in the benefits of when it's good, like a Trump vote or an early crypto buy back in June of 2023. If you believed in it then, look at where you're at now. So exactly, stand for something or fall for nothing.
Oh yeah. Bees.
Don't be a pussy.
Simple as that. Quit being gay. That's all. Just ask yourself, why are you gay? I would just ask yourself that. Other than that, gentlemen, I'm ready for the fucking bull run. So Trumpino, let's get him in office. Let's see this meat stick coming from the New York Open.
Yeah, the Empire State stick.
Yeah. The Trump pump's real, gentlemen. All right, boys. Well, good stream. Everybody else, you know what it is. We'll see you inside the Taylor's Code.
See you, boys.
And